going to have a look at Hayudi William Leadbetter, also known as Leadbelly. And he was born in 1988 and died in 1949 at age 67. An American folk and blues singer, musician and songwriter, a 12-string guitar virtuoso, best known for his songs including Goodnight Irene, that's this, Where Did You Sleep Last Night, Midnight Special, Cotton Fields, Boll Weevil. Besides guitar, he also played piano, mandolin, harmonica, violin, and the diatonic accordion, also known as the melodeon. That's the instrument I mistake for the mellotron sometimes. Doesn't sound anything like that. Just got a similar name. His songs had usual themes, women, booze, prison, racism, cowboys, jobs, sailors, and dancing. He wrote topical songs as well about people in the news. Leadbelly is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he was inducted in 2008. Yeah, I know, it's not rock. But this guy gave us rock. He was born on a Louisiana plantation. The date is not completely clear. When he was 5, his family moved to Texarkana section of Texas. This was where he got his first instrument, an accordion, from his uncle. In his early 20s, he left home to make his living as a guitarist. He also worked as a driver for John Lomax, the famous musicologist, who would scour the South looking for folk songs. Alan Lomax was John's son, who took up the same conservation of history and song as a career. Leadbelly was playing in a red light district of Shreveport when John Lomax discovered him. Lomax recorded him in 1933 on a portable aluminum disc machine. Leadbelly had seen the inside of jails and prison, and Lomax tried to get him pardoned by the governor by playing him the recordings that he made, saying, this guy doesn't deserve to be in prison because listen to how he plays and sings. He's an American treasure. It didn't work, but Leadbelly got out for good behavior. And the press said that he was a convict who sung his way out of prison, creating a legend. So there's an example of how the press can change things around to suit the story. Leadbelly went right along with it. He was the first American country blues musician to sell in Europe. He was friendly with peers including Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, Woody Guthrie, and a young Pete Seeger. He would tour Europe, but he became ill in France, and he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. He outlived John Lomax by 1 year. Bob Dylan credits Leadbelly for getting him interested in folk music. Lonnie Donegan's cover of his Rock Island line began the skiffle craze in England, and this led to the Beatles and the Stones, and the rest is, as they say, historical. Leadbelly's discography includes more than 160 sides. He wrote Black Betty, Blue Tail Fly, CC Rider, Easy Rider, The Gallows Pole, Salty Dog, and many, many more. I think it's important to remember these artists from the 30s who really gave us our whole lexicon of music that we have so much fun looking into. It's not hard to look back on these musicians and find the roots of rock. Certainly, gospel and blues music, it's a pre-form of rock. That doesn't take away anything from gospel or blues, both gigantic genres and by themselves regardless of what came after. But people in Europe, and especially England, they picked up on American blues music and they decided that they wanted to do their own version. So they, copy the songs, borrow them, steal them, and redo them in their own way with a supposedly modernistic sound, which was back in the 60s not what we consider modernistic at this point, but I mean, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters especially, and Leadbelly are three examples of who we really owe everything to. Not so much because they're playing or singing stuff that sounds like rock, but because their lifestyle as itinerant musicians going from juke joint to juke joint, making living with their music, experiencing things down in the crossroads and in the delta and putting it to song for us. That's what rock musicians do now. What they did then, we do now. Lots of different new genres, but they all stem back to this. It's not just my opinion. If John Lomax or Alan Lomax were around, they'd tell you. And that just brings up one other thing I want to say. I know I didn't speak all that much on Leadbelly. I think maybe shorter shows get more views. But when I do a show about a guy like this, I expect that you take the incentive to look him up yourself and listen to his music and read all about him, because it's important information. If you have an interest in music, this is stuff you need to know about. So that's really one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this show. I want to instill interest in past musicians, lest we forget. Lest we forget. I'll be back with another band. Would you like to know who? Well, whether you like to know or not, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to have a look at Tony Iommi. I'll see you soon.